The grocery store was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator aisles. A single mom stood at the checkout counter, her hands trembling as she counted the few crumpled bills she had left. Her little boy clutched a small box of cereal against his chest, eyes wide and innocent. The cashier's polite smile faded when she realized the total was more than what the woman could pay. Then, out of nowhere, the boy looked up and said something that made everyone in the store go silent. "He's my dad. Please help him too." If heartfelt, emotional stories about kindness and second chances touch your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grateful Tales. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing people from all over the world come together to celebrate hope, love, and humanity. The evening had already been long for Sarah, a single mother who had learned to stretch every dollar just to keep her little boy Ethan fed and smiling. She worked 2 part-time jobs, one at a cafe and another cleaning offices at night. The weight of responsibility often pressed against her chest like an invisible stone, but she kept going because giving up simply wasn't an option. That night, she stopped by the grocery store after work, hoping to grab a few essentials before her next shift. Her worn-out shoes made soft squeaks against the tile as she pushed the nearly empty cart through the aisles. Ethan was 6, bright, curious, and far too understanding for his age. He walked beside her, holding her hand and pointing at snacks he wished they could buy. "Maybe next time," Sarah whispered, forcing a smile that didn't reach her tired eyes. She picked up a small loaf of bread, a carton of milk, a few apples, and a cheap box of cereal, Ethan's favorite. Her mind kept replaying numbers: rent due, electricity bill, daycare fee. There wasn't enough. There never was. At the checkout counter, Sarah unloaded the items carefully, counting again in her head. The cashier scanned each one, her polite tone cutting through the silence. When the final total appeared, Sarah's stomach sank. She pulled out a handful of coins and a few crumpled notes. It wasn't enough by a few dollars. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she whispered, "I'm sorry, could you take off the apples?" The cashier nodded quietly and adjusted the total. Sarah could feel the eyes of the people behind her, some impatient, some indifferent. Then came the sound of a low voice from behind. "I've got it," said a man in line, a tall figure in a faded jacket and worn jeans. He looked like he'd had his own share of hard days, but there was a warmth in his eyes. Sarah turned, startled. "Oh no, I can't accept that," she said softly, clutching her small purse. "Please, it's okay," the man replied, handing a few bills to the cashier. "You've got a kid!" "I've been there." She wanted to argue, but the exhaustion in her bones silenced her. She mouthed a thank you as he gave her a kind smile. As Sarah and Ethan walked toward the exit, she felt both grateful and ashamed. She had always promised herself she'd never rely on anyone again, not after being abandoned by Ethan's father before he was even born. But life had a way of humbling even the strongest hearts. They were almost at the door when Ethan suddenly stopped. He turned around, looking at the man who had helped them. "Mommy," he whispered, tugging at her sleeve, "that man looks like Dad." Sarah froze. "Ethan, don't say that," she whispered. But Ethan let go of her hand and ran toward the man before she could stop him. The man knelt instinctively, surprised but gentle. "Hey there, buddy," he said with a small smile. Ethan looked up at him and said the words that made everyone in the store pause. "You helped us. Please help my dad too. He needs someone to be kind to him." The man blinked, visibly moved. Sarah rushed over, apologizing softly, but before she could lead Ethan away, the man spoke again, his voice trembling. "What did you say your name was?" he asked her quietly. "Sarah," she replied hesitantly. His eyes widened. "Sarah Miller?" Her heart stopped. "Yes, how do you—" The man swallowed hard, emotion flickering across his face. "I think we need to talk," he said softly. She recognized him then, the jawline, the eyes, the way he said her name. It was Michael, Ethan's father, the man who had walked out 7 years ago when life had become too hard for him to handle. The air between them filled with disbelief and a dozen unspoken emotions. "I didn't know," he said finally. "I didn't know you had him." Sarah's eyes glistened. "You left before I could tell you," she whispered. The store suddenly felt smaller, quieter. Michael looked at Ethan, who was now holding his teddy bear tightly, watching his parents with confusion. "I made mistakes," Michael said, his voice breaking. "I was scared. I wasn't ready to be a father, but I've changed." Sarah wanted to be angry, to remind him of all the nights she cried alone, but seeing him there, tired yet sincere, softened something inside her. Ethan looked up between them, his small voice cutting through the silence. "Can we all go home now?" Outside the store, the sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow across the parking lot. Michael offered to carry their groceries, and Sarah didn't refuse. They talked for the first time in years about life, about mistakes, about hope. He told her how he'd been trying to start over, working odd jobs and trying to make amends with the people he'd hurt. She told him how hard it had been raising Ethan alone, and how she'd learned to be strong even when she didn't feel like it. There were no promises, no sudden miracles, just an understanding that maybe this was a second chance neither of them had expected. That night, Sarah tucked Ethan into bed, her heart heavier yet lighter at the same time. She watched him sleep and thought about the strange twist of fate that had brought Michael back into their lives. Maybe forgiveness didn't come all at once. Maybe it came in small, uncertain steps, like a stranger paying for your groceries when you can't, or a child's innocent words bridging years of silence. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Grateful Tales. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and share your own story of kindness, forgiveness, or faith in humanity. Every act of compassion makes the world a little brighter, and your story might be the next one that inspires someone's heart.